And now to Capitol Hill, where Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced the Senate Finance Committee on Thursday in what turned into a tense and combative hearing that stretched for more than 3 hours. The hearing, which was meant to outline his agenda to make America healthy again, quickly veered into heated exchanges over COVID vaccines, the dismissal of the director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and his overall stance on public health policy. Lawmakers pressed Kennedy on his record, with Democrats accusing him of restricting Americans' access to COVID-19 vaccines and Republicans questioning the contradictions in his policies. One Democratic senator even called him out for not knowing how many Americans died from COVID-19 during the pandemic.
To just again some basic facts. Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there was so many perverse incentives. And these are modeled.
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved lives?
Another Democratic senator demanded to know why Kennedy acted behind closed doors to limit vaccine access for healthy children and adults, citing the removal of shots previously available to millions. Kennedy shot back, angrily accusing her of just making stuff up, while insisting drug makers had failed to provide clear evidence that vaccines benefited those groups.
When have you produced the data that you relied on and that this FDA relied on to change those parameters? You did it behind closed doors.
Oh, the data is all public.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just making stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're
making
just
stuff
making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy.
At the same time, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, himself a doctor, raised concerns over Kennedy's long record of vaccine skepticism. He accused the health secretary of undermining science by stacking the CDC's advisory committee with members who previously testified against pharmaceutical companies in vaccine lawsuits. Last week, Kennedy fired the CDC director, Susan Monores, less than a month after she was confirmed to her position, and is now mounting a legal challenge, a case challenging her removal. Cassidy ended his exchange with a blunt charge that Kennedy was effectively denying people vaccines.
As lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp Speed when, as an attorney, you attempted to restrict access.
The Trump appointee repeatedly argued that unsorted COVID data left over from the Biden administration made it impossible to know how many lives vaccines had in fact saved, though he later conceded that the shots had indeed saved quite a few lives. But this did little to calm his critics, who accused him of making decisions that weakened the nation's ability to fight disease, especially after firing the CDC director and dismantling an independent vaccine panel. Now, throughout the hearing, RFK Jr. stood his ground, insisting his leadership was rooted in transparency and science, free from politics. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump, speaking to reporters after the hearing, praised Kennedy as a very good person and acknowledged that some of his beliefs are, in fact, outside the medical mainstream.
I get to watch the hearings today, but he's a very good person. And he means very well, and he's got some little different ideas. I guarantee a lot of the people at this table like RFK Jr., and I do. But he's got a different take, and we want to listen to all of those takes. But I heard he did very well today. But it's not your standard. It's not your standard talk, I would say, and that has to do with medical and vaccines. But if you look at what's going on in the world with health, and look at this country also with regard to health, I like the fact that he's different.
Now, the sparring came amid emerging evidence of broad support for childhood vaccines nationwide, even among voters who supported President Donald Trump. And according to CDC data, the United States has recorded more than 1.2 million COVID-19 deaths. And now with fresh concerns over who controls the nation's vaccination policy, the hearing left many increasingly concerned that Robert Kennedy Jr. could be steering the country into uncharted and very dangerous territory.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakarjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.